I don't recall if it disappears or not. Right, excellent. So we have tons of kilocalories available. It's really... I should stop them from making any more mush bars because I just have too many. They're gonna rot. They're probably already rotting as it is. Check edible. Muckroot. We have some muckroot available. Mush bars. Where do we see mush bars? Are they just in here? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see that it was full, or that it had a lot of stuff in there. Yeah. So some lice loaf is about to go bad. A lot of stuff is on its way to becoming stale. So I should have turned that off much earlier. And there's some rotten lice loaf on the ground. Yeah. Unfortunate. But not the end of the world. We'll have to turn that back on again soon, though. Especially because this will drop extra fast because of all the rotting food, as well as duplicants eating the food. Alright, so we got rid of the plants. So we can make these platforms. These platforms are not really necessary, but they're going to make things a little bit easier. They'll prevent things from getting messy. It's probably a better idea if I put the transformers on the opposite side, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so now that I have most of this completed, let's actually... Alright, I'm not sure if that's my mouse spazzing out. I think it's the game itself. So let's actually build an access way over here. And let's put a pair of deodorizers just to make sure that all of this polluted oxygen... let's actually cancel this build just so that the deodorizers are built first before we have access. And that way we won't have to deal with polluted oxygen coming into the base. And this requires super hard digging. So let's go back to our skills tab and let's look for somebody here. So Stinky is no. Let's give this task over to Nicola and the task over to Turner. So these are now more or less barred from receiving additional tasks until I have some way of improving morale, such as building more advanced buildings and such. So that will probably be in the next 2 or 3 videos. All right, and do I need super hard digging for this? I might... No, I'm fine, I'm fine. Okay, so I just need super hard digging for diamond, which is new. It used to only be this level of digging is required for diamond. What was the other one? Obsidian. Okay, okay. So obsidian is the second one. Right. I'm going to put these on priority 7 once this one finishes building, because we really need to make sure that they're always getting rid of this polluted oxygen. We really can't allow it into the base. And I don't care if the polluted oxygen, or sorry, polluted water here mixes with this water, because we're going to have plenty of water and we can just sort it anytime we actually need it. It's a bit wasteful in terms of power, but it'll take a lot less time and effort if I just go ahead and let them combine. Okay, very good. So that's ready. So I can have these get dug out. Okay, and that means that I can go ahead and let this get dug out. And I'll dig out those as well. Nice. And let's actually open these and set all these doors to the same setting. Okay, so all the water will flow out and down here and into there. Actually, this is going to cause a problem where this is going to be flooded. I really should have expected that. But luckily, these two deodorizers give coverage, so it should be able to stop the polluted oxygen. Did any get up here? Let's see here. It's all chlorine, a little bit of polluted oxygen up here at the top, so I guess I will put some mesh tile with some deodorizers up there on priority 9. Whoops, that is emergency priority, priority 0. That is a bad idea because it makes everybody stress out. It stops them from doing all their other tasks as well, so they'll eventually come down here as soon as they wake up and do this task, and that'll keep the polluted oxygen from entering the base. Alright. So we have plenty of oxygen, lots and lots of it. The carbon dioxide is more or less not a problem anymore, although I will eventually need to move this down. This will prevent the carbon dioxide from ever becoming so much of a problem that it comes all the way up. But when we have this built, a lot of our gas problems can be avoided. Instead of deleting the carbon dioxide, we can just pump it into some storage, And because we can store an infinite amount of it, we can just leave it there forever. And there's actually quite a lot of uses for carbon dioxide later on in the game. It's just unfortunate that if you don't have some way to store all of it, it's more hassle than it's worth to keep it around. So luckily with this build, we get to actually keep that carbon dioxide to, for example, turn it into petroleum or crude oil, which is very useful. Also, carbon dioxide is great for things like keeping food from rotting, because it creates a sterile atmosphere, which means that you can store an infinite amount of food in like a 1x1 tile area as long as there's carbon dioxide there. So in a few videos time, I'll end up building alongside this area for eating. I'll probably make something maybe over here that will allow us to store an arbitrarily large amount of food. And then my duplicates can come and access the food there. We never need to worry about food rotting, and instead of turning on and off this microbe musher, we can just leave it on forever and just keep building up more and more food. And then when we have a comfortably large amount of it, we'll start expanding with more duplicants. All right. So this dupe fell asleep over here. I wonder why they didn't make it all the way back. Perhaps they were trapped at the time. None of my duplicants should be in any danger. They should be able to escape from any place over here with no issues. And I'm going to need some additional space so that we can get rid of this water over here. There's not enough of this. So actually I'm going to have... Is that a good idea to build that down like that? Should be good enough. Alright, so I'll build that down like that. And I'll just place some ladders here. So my duplicates can go up and down. That is priority 9, just so I finish that off quickly. I'll open this up, also on priority 9. Alright, very good. So, is there a duplicate here who's suffocating? Ah, yes, Max. Okay, so Max is going to be fine. That beeping emergency sound just means that a duplicate is currently either suffocating. It might also indicate that a duplicate is scalding. I'm not sure. All right, we're running low on kilocalories again, so we need to start making more mush bars. And we have saturated all of our farm tiles, so soon we're going to want to expand this with another row of farm tiles. And once we get this up to 3.5 mealwood per duplicate, so that's 28 of these mealwood plants, then we should be sustainable with just the lice loaf. And we don't need to worry about making any more wasteful and gross mush bars. So let's see here, it says 3, 6, actually it's much faster with this. So that's 14 tiles. So if I build one more of these, that's enough for all of our plant needs. I'm gonna leave that for now. I'll come back a little bit later because it's not a super big issue. I'd like to get the storage done first. I guess I'll probably focus on that next video. So my duplicates are up. Perhaps in a video or two I'll end up changing around the cycles of my duplicates so that we have duplicates working around the clock. Let's get some larva eggs. These are going to cause critters to grow. So I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to deconstruct this ration box and put some pneumatic doors around, and that'll just prevent the critters that come from these eggs from escaping and give us a renewable source of food, because the critters will live their entire wild life cycles in this small area, and each time they live a life cycle they should leave one egg behind. So you won't have a growing population of wild critters, but still a sustainable source of food, and the eggshells can be turned into lime, which is good for steel, which is going to be very useful down the road. So I'll make sure that it's priority 9. Yes, it is. Okay, very good. And the critters should not be able to get through these doors unless something changed in the last patch. All right, so this is ready. It's all, the shells have been constructed, so let's go ahead and tell our duplicates to mop up the additional liquid. Some more liquid from this little area might flow across here as I do that, so I might have to do this more than once. All right, very good. So that happened. Okay, excellent. And let's put this back on automatic. So why is this duplicate idle? Have I actually run out of tasks to complete? Oh yeah, looks like I have. Okay, so I better get some more things under construction. So I would like to get rid of all this debris, because it's going to be an annoyance if it's inside this this whole structure. So I'm going to build a storage bin up here at the top. In fact, I'll build 2. At priority 9, just to make sure it gets done quickly. I'll put these on a sweep task of priority 9. I don't care about any stuff that's on the outside of this. Okay, very good. And let's put sweep only, all resources, priority 9, and I'll use the pipe symbol tab. It's not actually the pipe symbol that makes it happen, it's just that the pipe symbol happens to also be on the same button on my keyboard. I forget if that's a backslash or a slash. Alright, so we copy that. Alright, so now our duplicants will move all available materials at the highest priority, other than emergency priority, into these storage bins. But I've set it so that they will only move things that I've set to sweep. That way they won't come and take all these materials down here. They'll only take the stuff that's in here that I'm worried about. So we have to wait for them to finish this cycle. Let's make sure this is working. Alright, that's working just fine. Do we have available dirt? I don't need to see that. Cultivatable soil. We have 66 tons of dirt, so lots and lots of dirt. For now. The dirt is really only accessible in this starting biome as well, just like with the copper. So when it runs out here, that's really all that there's available, unless you start building systems that'll produce more for you. So it won't be too many more videos before I end up replacing this farm system, which should last for a while, and start working towards hatches. I'll most likely end up making a stone hatch farm because they will provide me with lots and lots of lime from their eggs, which is good for producing steel, which is going to be useful in the mid-game, as well as providing lots of meat, which is going to be great for barbecue, which is an excellent source of food. And also, excuse me, if I make stone hatches, they're going to poop out coal at 50% of the mass that I feed them with. So I'm going to give them igneous rock, which is the most plentiful resource on the map. That's granite. We're going to find some igneous rock. There we go. All this, this over here, this over here, this is igneous rock. So it's very easy to get hundreds of tons of igneous rock and feed it to your stone hatches. And then they turn 50% of this material into coal. So your coal generators become this incredible source of power that lasts for hundreds of cycles. Yeah. Okay. So we don't want these clogged up with whatever elements are inside this storage area right now. So we'll need to replace that later. I'm going to reserve the space here at the top for our new automation setup that's different from the original automation by just a little bit. It's the same setup. I'm just moving the stuff that was at the bottom up to the top and adding a little extra piece. So you'll see that soon. And again, if anything that I'm doing here for the storage system is confusing, I'll put up an addendum video that will update the storage module design. So expect that within the week, or perhaps at the beginning of next week. All right, so they've gone back to sleep, or they will be in a moment. They're just doing their daily tasks, and then they're going to come back here. Okay, cool. So I'm going to need a bunch of refined metal in order to put my automation wires down that run the compressors. So let's take this copper, and it'd be probably much smarter if I just click this and put the number in, but let's convert. This is way more than I need. Much, much more, and I'll need to keep an eye on this to make sure that I don't end up heating this up too much, which it seems unlikely considering just how much water there is and how cold it is. But I'm going to have 40 tasks. So I'll make 4 tons of refined metal. Okay. And let's dig out this area here. So we have space for all of the automation that I'm going to make. And I'm going to place a load of tile down here. So it's probably unnecessary to do on this side, but I will do it like this, just so I can force the water up and away, and I have more room to place my automation. And then if I want even more room, I can place another layer of tile, and then come from below and deconstruct this layer. And that'll force the water up even higher. Okay, and let's get rid of... I can keep that tile there, it doesn't really matter. Nice, excellent, okay. And let's get rid of this. And then the next thing I need to do is change the default access permissions. So currently, all of my duplicants can use these doors as normal doors. They prevent fluids from passing through, But a duplicate, if they were so inclined, could open up these doors to try and access what's inside, and that would totally defeat the purpose of these devices. So I have to go to each of these doors and make it so that the default access permissions is no one, so no one is allowed in or out of these devices. And in fact, I'm also going to go and place tiles on these corners, because duplicates are able, I have seen in the past, to, I don't know if it's glitch their way or if there's a reproducible mechanic that can entice them to do so, but they can get through these corners even if they don't open the doors. So I'm going to place these here and put them at a high priority. All right. So that'll prevent duplicates from getting in and out of the storage areas or letting any materials through. So currently they can still get through the doors, which you can see because they keep jumping up and down through the doors. All right, and now this store, I'm going to click my pipe symbol tab. I'm just going to call it that. Click and drag, and they can no longer go through any of those doors. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that to this right side as well. So all of this is inaccessible to my duplicates as well. It's not a big deal right now. It's fine if they go to this side, but eventually that's going to become a problem, and I don't want to end up forgetting and having a duplicate open up the storage side and letting out hundreds of tons of some particular element. All right, so these two bins have become full. So what I'm going to do is just click on one of them and then quickly toggle what's allowed inside to nothing, then back to everything. And what that causes it to do is dump everything on the ground. But all the stuff that was inside doesn't come with a new sweep task. So because these are only accept things that have a sweep task, they're not going to pick up the materials that I just dumped on the ground. So this is the technique that I usually use to clear out all the debris in a particular area. I'll just put a storage bin nearby with a high priority, set it to sweep only, and then as they become full, just toggle them all to accept nothing, then toggle them all to accept everything again, and then you can just have 20 tons at a time of materials into each of these storage bin and just dump them on the ground. So we can get rid of all of the rest of this detritus or litter. Fantastic, things are going quite well. And how much refined metal do I have? I have 1.5 tons of refined metal, which is quite a lot. So let's go to our automation tab, and we can start putting up the automation system that we're going to need. So we need, oops. If you saw the little graphical glitch that happened just a moment ago, occasionally the game will automatically save, which is useful in case something goes wrong and you need a recent save. But unfortunately, as you're building things and it starts to save, it can cause things to go crazy. You can end up placing wires all over the place, connected in weird locations. Sometimes you'll find a wire that you placed just down to the left or something, which has already happened several times through this playthrough series. So what I like to do when the save occurs and you notice that your screen is paused for a moment is just stop moving. Do not let go of the mouse if you're currently dragging a wire, because if you let go, it might make some crazy assumptions. But if you keep holding on, then you can at least trace the path of the wire back and fix whatever mistakes the game puts in. So for example, go back here. If I had an automation wire that looked like this, and I let go while the game is paused, it might add a bunch of additional nonsense. But I can trace the path of this wire backwards, potentially, and fix that. Or if I realize that it's not fixable, like in this case, the game has managed to glitch and not fully connect this wire, which it should have connected, I can just right click and cancel the whole thing while holding left click the whole time. All right, so we're getting rid of these materials. And we're soon gonna have the automation in place. And then we'll place our pumps, we'll place our wires, and then we'll do the automation up here at the top. Riveting gameplay happening right now. Perhaps I should use this opportunity to remind anyone who enjoys these videos to like, favorite, and subscribe, like your favorite Minecraft YouTuber. All right, excellent. They're going back to sleep, but they've managed to accomplish most of the digging tasks that I've, most of the sweeping tasks that I've required. The shell is fully constructed. They just need to build the actual compressors using the mechanized airlocks, put the pumps here, put the wiring in, and then the automation at the top. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some of these pumps in place. So I'm going to use... I don't have access to it yet, but I'm going to see if I can find some gold amalgam. So the reason for this is because I'm worried about the overheat temperature of these materials. I'm assuming that all of this stuff is going to be materials that are around 30 to less than 100 degrees Celsius. I don't want stuff put in here that's over 100 degrees Celsius because that can end up reaching something like water and turning it into steam, which is no good. And if it goes much higher than that, if it goes above 75, I believe, degrees Celsius, it'll cause a lot of basic machines to overheat. So for example, if I click, excuse me, let's go to, can I see it here? There we go. So overheat temperature 75 degrees Celsius. So if this heats up past that, it'll start taking damage. And because we really don't want our duplicates going in this high pressure area, that's a big problem. There are some ways to kind of access it through the walls and fix it up, like getting rid of these tiles. You can deconstruct the pump and reconstruct it. But it would be much better for us if we just avoid that problem altogether. And we can do that by using materials that have additional build properties. So gold amalgam, for example, which we have none of yet. We can find some over here, for example. You usually find them in slime biomes. We have access to a slime biome right here, so we can... there's not much gold amalgam immediately available. It's all kind of down here. That's not very much. Do I want to go over here? Do I want to go up there? Interesting. There really doesn't seem to be much gold amalgam in these slime biomes compared to what I'm used to. Usually you have a lot more of these, what you can see, these big rings surrounding all these pockets. So you would have like maybe a big ring right here, a big ring over here. Maybe this would have like part of a ring or something. I don't know if this is very unlucky or if the propensity of gold amalgam to spawn in these areas changed in this update. But I'm going to end up digging out this area, and that should be enough for at least a few pumps. So I'll have to change that so the duplicates are able to access it again. I'll increase this priority to 9 because I want to get this done. And while they're doing that, perhaps I'll dig up here as well. So let's delete that. Whoops. I clicked H to go back to the home. By the way, if you're in some weird unknown location, you can always just click H and the game will automatically center you back on your printing pod, which has an available blueprint. So let's... Interesting. Let's print some rust. Right, and we'll put a few of these ladders. Again, doing the double spacing to make sure that I don't make more than I need. Let's place a pair of deodorizers here at a high priority and continue up this way. And dig all of this out. Yeah, continue up this way. Okay, and there's a little bit more up there, but you know what, I'm just gonna leave this as sufficient for now. So there we go. Have that happen very quickly. We should have enough gold amalgam from all of that. And let's just show what the purpose of all that was. So if I click my liquid pump, we can see that there is an overheat temperature of 75 degrees Celsius. And the resource effect. So this is what happens based on the resource that I've chosen. In this case, it starts at copper ore by default. So if I click over to iron ore, this has a decor bonus of 10% for the copper. So copper is great at making things look nicer for your duplicates. Iron has no change. It's kind of the default material. Gold amalgam has a decor bonus just like copper of 10%, but also increases the overheat temperature by 50 degrees. So suddenly your, for example, gas pumps that overheat at 75 degrees Celsius can handle steam coming from water, because the steam is going to be over 100 degrees Celsius. Now they can handle up to 125 degrees Celsius. So I want to make sure that all of my pumps are made out of gold amalgam at least, just to give myself a little bit of additional breathing room so that I can use, for example, this water coming off of this cool steam vent, what temperature does it come off? It comes off at 110 degrees Celsius. So the steam comes off at that temperature, and the water that I pump off might be just slightly below 100 degrees. So when I put this into the system, I want to make sure that I don't have my pumps overheating because they're over 75 degrees. Right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to make 3 of these that take in liquids, and then I'm going to make 3 that takes in gases. And eventually I'll end up perhaps moving these around or building a bigger system over to one side or another. But this is more than enough for now. So this can handle water, polluted water. I could have salt water over here. I could have crude oil over here. This is probably going to be carbon dioxide, maybe chlorine, and maybe natural gas, I guess, for over here. That seems like a good idea. Right, and that all needs to be hooked up using conductive wire. So where do I see my conductive wire? Did something go wrong with the research? Oh, I clicked off the research before I finished it. All right. So I'll need to have my duplicates go back and finish that task off. Oh, and that would explain that. I have this liquid vent directly above a normal tile. So let's get rid of that post-haste and choose our new blueprint. Lots of Paku, which will sit here and then probably die. Okay, very good. Let's sweep up this water some more, just because there's too much water in this area. We really need to get this storage completed. Luckily, we have it so that the water tends to be going over to this side and going over to this additional storage area. We can avoid it going over here if we just build one more tile to seal that off completely. And let's get that done with priority 9. This is a fine gap for our duplicates to get through, right? Because they can jump through that even though they can't stand. Well, they can stand here, they can stand here, it's fine. Right, and I'm going to get rid of this even though it's not of much concern, just because I don't want to have it end up pooling and becoming more difficult to deal with. Alright, very good. And let's get rid of this. Okay. And this is just about completed. So now we have access to our conductive wires. Conductive wires have much less of a decor penalty. And they also, just like regular wires, can go through tiles. And finally, they can also handle 2 kilowatts of power instead of 1 kilowatt. So they handle 2,000 watts of power without overloading. And that's the reason why we're going to use conductive wires mainly. It's just because we don't want wires all over the place. So let's just pause this for a moment. So that takes 240 watts is close enough to 250. It's a little bit less. So we can say that each of these takes 8 of these buildings. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can almost, not quite, have this entire structure supplied by one of these wires. So I will have to use 2 wires. Let's see here. What's a reasonable place to stop this? So if I do something like... Okay, so I'm just going to build this as if I am supplying power to 2 pumps in each of them, just in case I want to switch them around, so I don't need to build and replace a lot of these wires. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Nice. And then I have 2, 4 over here. They're all connected, and they will come from a transformer over here. Okay. So not the cleanest build. It would probably, again, be better to put on my transformers on this side. Will I go ahead and do that? Yes, I will. It takes almost no effort, so I may as well get that done. So let's build that out like that. Let's build that out like that. We'll put a ladder, ladder up here like this. Okay. Put that out like that. Nice. Have this ladder come down like this. And I'll need 2 power transformers for each of them. So, okay. So put it like So we'll need a little bit of additional tile for these transformers to be supported. We'll run some heavy watt wire all the way over here. So this will come down, connect into that, come down, connect into that, come down, connect into that, come down, connect into that. The reason I'm doing this like this is because each of these transformers can only transfer 1 kilowatt of power from the input side to the output side. So if I want 2 kilowatts of power in this wire, I need to connect 2 from different transformers. I could alternatively construct a large power transformer, which is a little bit wider. That can produce up to 4 kilowatts of power, but I like to avoid that just because this provides a restrictive measure that forces you to only have 2 kilowatts of power available in the system at a time. So this wire is only supposed to ever have 2 kilowatts of power going through it. So by having 2 power transformers instead of a large power transformer, this forces it to only have 2 kilowatts of power going through it. Whereas a large power transformer, if you make a mistake, could potentially put 4 kilowatts of power through it and cause it to overload. So it's just a little bit of safety. Perhaps it's a build technique that I'll abandon in the future, but for now I really like it. So I'm going to have these connect just like this. I can get rid of this going off to the left, get rid of this going off to the left. I'll connect this pair over here. And very good. Okay, so once this is finished, I'll have all of the power hooked up. Then I'll need to actually have some pipes going in and out. Oops. Auto-saved. Let's put this all to priority 9. Once the builds are finished, then I'll put it all back to priority 5. And I may as well change this to allow duplicates to come through so they can do this task a little bit faster. Okay. May have to sweep up a bit more water when this is done. And this is definitely turning out to be a much longer video than I originally intended, so I may have to upload this in multiple parts. Alright, we have a little bit more polluted water going on over here, so let's get rid of that quickly. Alright, and let's actually decrease this level of water. Like, this water is going to keep overflowing just because I'm actually supplying power using this supplying water using this lavatory a few kilograms per cycle. So I'm going to disable this pitcher pump and just have this one running by enabling it. And that way I can start getting rid of this extra water. It shouldn't take too long for this water level to drop because we've already seen how much this water level has dropped. Pardon the thumping again. Right, excellent. And let's put this as priority 9 as well. Okay. Very good. Yeah, an additional source of water is anytime we sweep up water over here, this bottle emptier is having the water dump into this area, not this area. So it's causing it to overflow even more. Okay, actually, some of our duplicates have already gotten quite high stress. So let's just check our skills tree. Everyone has a fine stress now. So it appears somebody has gone below. The number on the left represents what their current morale is, and as long as that's at or above what their morale need is on the right, then they should be fine, and their stress will slowly go down just as a matter of being alive. Unless there's other things that are stressing them out. So everyone's fine right now, and this stress should go down, but something has stressed them out in the past. So because that's a possibility, I think it's about time that I got myself some massage tables. I'm going to just put that in a random slot because it's not very important right now. I just need one massage table. I'm going to hook that up using some heavy watt wire. And then if a duplicate ever goes above whatever threshold I set on the massage table, they'll automatically come here and until they get interrupted by another task or until they run out of stress, they'll just keep having their stress reduced by sitting on the massage table and using a bit of power. So that should prevent any emergencies because some of the stress reactions, if they reach 100% stress, can be quite destructive. We really want to avoid those. Okay, so we already have somebody using it. Let's see, what should we put this at? I think 50% is fine. My only fear is that Turner is going to suddenly have their stress going up, like it just did right there, and Nicola will be using it in the meantime. Nicola's stress is going down quite dramatically, so that'll be fine. Turner will come here and use it. Once everyone's stress is below 50%, it's not a problem to just have one supplying your entire base. But before then, if you have multiple duplicants with stress above, or in high numbers, it's possible for one to be de-stressing while the other one reaches 100% stress, even if one massage table is technically enough to counter both their stress. I hope that makes sense. Let's make sure that the oxygen's good. It is not good. So we've run out of algae once more. And all of these little side projects, which kind of make up the game, have really been a distraction from the main project that I've been doing over here. Which is not a bad thing. That's a lot of what makes this game fun. I can just get rid of these additional things.